For days now, we've been hearing reports, unverifiable given Iran's internet shutdown, that hundreds of protesters have been killed in an escalating crackdown. Now, what seems to be the first tangible evidence. A video that we're told was physically smuggled out of the country after it was shot on Friday outside a morgue on the southern outskirts of Tehran. The morgue already so full, families left having to identify loved ones in the open. Some families, we're told, instructed to pay to have bodies returned. Others warned against public funerals. We've spoken to an Iranian activist and doctor based in Vienna who himself has been in touch with his colleagues in the country.
Sadly, the severity of the injuries suggests that police and security forces deliberately targeted the protesters with intent to kill. The shootings were direct, aimed at the head, neck and chest. According to our colleagues, as well as videos and audio files sent to us, most of the injured suffered wounds to the head and neck.
The killings reportedly extending far beyond Tehran, just as the protests have. 70 people said to have been killed here in northern Rasht. And from southern Shiraz, an audio message from a hospital doctor whose voice we've disguised.
Guys, we cannot make any calls. Please contact the TV channels and tell them we desperately need surgeons, neurosurgeons, orthopedists, ophthalmologists. We cannot call them. There are 20 patients here and we can do nothing. They've all been shot in the head.
But last night, across the country, protesters again filled the streets. A US intelligence official describing it to the Reuters news agency as an endurance game between protesters trying to keep up the pressure and authorities trying to clear the streets through fear. Just over a week ago, Iran's president said rather than resort to blaming America, the protesters' real concerns should be addressed. Today, a different message.
The US and Israel intended in their 12-day war to disrupt our society and bring division among us. Even now, they're trying to escalate this unrest with regard to the economic discussions and solutions we're working on.
And he appeared to acknowledge killings by security forces.
Sadly, for some families, there have been things that have happened that have been regrettable. And to all those families, I give my condolences.
As the death toll mounts, Donald Trump left with a decision of whether to follow through with his threat to strike Iran to protect protesters. Overnight, posting on his Truth Social platform, Iran is looking at freedom, perhaps like never before. The USA stands ready to help. It was June last year when he sent bombers to attack Iranian nuclear targets, ending what he called the 12-day war between Israel and Iran. The Wall Street Journal today reporting the president will be briefed on specific strike options on Tuesday. This morning, the Speaker of Iran's parliament warned the United States against any such action, saying Israel and US bases and ships would all be legitimate targets for the Islamic Republic. Iran state television broadcasting footage of an apparent counter-demonstration in western Kermanshah today, where last week authorities say a 3-year-old girl was killed in riots. State-affiliated media say more than 100 security forces members have been killed in the protests so far. Those protests continuing today. This increasingly ruthless crackdown not yet having its intended effect, but leaving one key question so far unanswered. Has it crossed Donald Trump's red line? Will he now order his threatened military action?
Well, earlier I spoke to Iranian-American journalist and activist Masih Alinejad, who has been demanding change from outside Iran. I asked her what she had found out about the number of demonstrators killed.
Heartbreaking. Massacre is taking place in Iran. You know, I've received a message from one of the activists inside Iran using Starlink saying that he is witnessing how unarmed people being killed in front of the eyes of their family members. Over 2,000 people have been killed. I know that people are ready to end this regime, but with empty hand, believe me, the regime is going to slaughter innocent and unarmed people more and more.
It's so difficult to get a real estimate and a handle with what's going on because we don't have any communication. I wonder what you are hearing from your
But
friends and your family?
We are in touch. People are actually witnessing massacre, mass killings, and they actually sending us videos. You see how their lifeless bodies are on the top of each other in hospital. You see how family members are trying to identify their beloved one. My heart is broken when I see that leaders of free world kept quiet. I really want to know, where is the UK Prime Minister? Where is Europe?
So what should the international community do right now? You've heard President Trump say we're going to be hitting them very hard. And we've also seen that he's getting briefings about military action. What needs to be done?
Whether you like it or not, people inside Iran welcoming the decision of President Trump, they need to see action, not empty words. But I guess this is the Berlin Wall moment of Iran. Europe should be brave. They should join the United States of America. Europe should be united and stand with the people of Iran. They have to downgrade their diplomatic ties with this murderous regime. They don't understand the language of diplomacy. Cut down the embassy and echo the voice of Iranian people.
How does this compare to what we have seen before in 2022, in 2009? Is this now something different that you're seeing?
It is. It is different. It is different. I see that the fear is gone. It's gone. People are showing their face, using their own social media before going to the street with their own identity because they are fed up. So this is the continuation of 6 major uprisings took place in Iran. And I think this is not a protest anymore. It is a revolution. It is a revolution when unarmed people in the streets saying that we're not going back home, when they're calling President Trump, when they're calling the free world to help them to end the Islamic Republic.
And just finally, if this is the end of the regime, you say this is a revolution, then what's next for Iran?
Secular democracy. So simple. I keep hearing that a lot of people in the West are scaring us, saying that this is going to be a chaos. No one made chaos in the region more than the Islamic Republic did. Just believe that Iranian people deserve to have the same freedom that you take it for granted in the UK, in America, everywhere. We, the women, deserve to have the same freedom without getting beaten up by a bunch of backward Islamist Sharia laws police telling us what to wear. We deserve to have dignity. And a secular democracy is the demand of this people taking to the streets.
Masih Alinejad, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, joining me now is the Conservative MP and former Security Minister, Tom Tugendhat. Thank you for braving the rain out there. Masih believes this is the beginning of the end of the regime. Is there a danger, though, that she's getting carried away and some others are getting carried away and we could have the Revolutionary Guard still in place in Iran?
Well, I think what you're seeing, and Masih's extremely clear about it, and I think she's correct, is the end of 47 years of oppression. And you're seeing it in various different ways. You've seen millions of people out on the streets. It's completely clear. Sadly, we've now seen many, many people killed. I'm not going to put a number on it, but certainly there's many images coming through very clearly of hospitals and sadly of many people who've been killed by the regime. So we know what's going on. This isn't a protest. This is a revolution.
So what should the international community be doing? Would you expect them to be doing a little bit more to help Iranian people who, as you say, want change?
Well, I think the first thing that we can do is make sure people know what's going on around their own country and outside. And I say that because inside the country, the internet's been cut off, the phone lines are down in a lot of places, electricity has been interrupted. But we are told, in fact, I've got friends who've passed on the information, that satellite images are getting through, satellite news is still getting through. So making sure people have access to news, know what's going on and can't be silenced is incredibly important. The second thing, and I think here Masih's absolutely right, look, the regime has got envoys all around the world, some of whom have been hiding money in various different jurisdictions, and we need to make sure that they're not able to move it. Now that means not in the UK, but in other countries where they still have access to finances, we stop it. Because this regime is running out of money. It's not getting its drugs money from Hezbollah carrying drugs from Venezuela to Africa and onto Europe. It's not getting its oil money because the Venezuelan banking system that was laundering it for them has largely been closed down. So what we need to do is make sure this regime has nowhere left to turn.
What about military options? We're hearing that Trump is getting options and we'll hear more on Tuesday. Do you expect or do you think that the UK government will join in with that?
I wouldn't expect the UK government to do so. Look, we have a very different history in Iran. You don't need me to go into it. But it hasn't always been one that has been very welcomed in Iran, and I'm not sure we would be a helpful addition to that. I do think, however, that the UK government has a really clear role in standing up for the Iranian people, in making it absolutely clear in areas like the one that Kemi Badenoch set out this morning, that the UN Convention on Refugees, the 1951 Convention, means that those who are guilty of war crimes, those who are guilty of criminal acts like the leaders of the regime, and those who have caused so much harm around the world do not have the right of asylum. So when the regime leaders try to flee, we can send them back.
And just finally, Tom, if we're looking at the regime being toppled, if this is the Berlin Wall moment, you've seen regime change in Iraq and Afghanistan. What next for the people of Iran?
Well, look, that's a matter for them. It's not a matter for me, whether it's a constitutional monarchy, whether it's a republic, whether it's whatever system of government they choose is up to them. What's really important, though, is that we start acting immediately, and I do mean right now, in getting together friends and allies to make sure that when that change happens, it's able to deliver a difference immediately, because we know that this country has not only got runaway inflation, but it's also got food shortages, it's got medicine shortages. We can fix those quickly, and helping to get their energy up and running is important.